Let's try that again. Round 2 of my predictions of 2018. I mean, sometimes you gotta spice things up. Get you guys a little bit excited. Tease it a little. That was like a 40-second tease of, hey, I'm about to tell you something. And then I go away and say, not so fast, my friends. Some of you that are watching really appreciate it. We are back live for my 2018 predictions, business, sports, and whatever questions that you guys might have that you want me to answer about what I think my predictions are. Start putting those in the predictions below so that I can start thinking about what my thoughts are on it. Tasha, what's up? So if you guys have questions that you want my predictions on, let's do it. Let's do it live. Like the crazy man Bill O'Reilly said, we'll do it live. F it. We'll do it live. That's what we're doing here. It's episode 5 of Zack Miller Live, coming to you on a Friday, 2 days after Valentine's Day. Hope you all are out of the doghouse. If you forgot to get your significant other some flowers, some chocolate, or cook up some lobster. I didn't do any of that. Maybe one of those things. I didn't forget. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about sports. This is all 2018 stuff, 2 things that I believe will happen in 2018. We're still in quarter 1. We're going to talk about sports, business, and whatever questions that you may have that you want me to answer. Cal Cook, what's happening that you want me to provide my predictions on. Let me know what they are. I don't care what they are. I'll answer them or at least provide you feedback. And if I know nothing about it, I'll just say, I don't know, and make a guess. Flip the coin, if you will. So, a lot of you guys know I'm a sports fan, big sports fan, love watching sports. So we're going to start with the sports stuff because when I'm not working, I'm thinking about sports. Definitely not playing sports. I mean, look at me. I don't look like someone who is an athlete. But I love college basketball. I like the NBA and the playoffs and the holidays. College football is my jam. So let's start with something that's coming up in my favorite month of the year, March, because that's when I was born. Who is going to make the Final Four? Every year, I make a prediction of who's going to make the Final Four. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. But the 2018 version goes like this. The Final Four of the 2018 March Madness will be my alma mater, West Virginia University, taking it home. They're going to win the whole damn thing because you know what? Until they do, I'm going to make sure that they're in my Final Four every single year. Nothing like Press Virginia. We've had a little bit of a bad streak after I posted that we were going to be the number 1 team in the country. Since then, we've lost a lot of games where we had only lost 1 before. But guess what? This is me getting them back to the top. We play Kansas tomorrow at 6, I believe. We're going to beat them, and it's going to be great. So my Final Four, Xavier, West Virginia University, Cal. My wife would want me to say Duke, but not so fast, my friends. It's not happening this year. No team from the state of North Carolina will make the Final Four. Yep, I said it. Duke's not going to be there. UNC's not going to be there. NC State's not going to be there. Sorry. Heck, I'll even add the state of South Carolina. No South Carolina. No Clemson. But we got a school from Cincinnati. My homeboy Desmond Varner on his first year being at school. He's my forever hype man. Xavier makes it to the Final Four. UVA, probably the best team in the country right now. West Virginia did beat them. And guess what? A team seeded 5 or below will make the Final Four. That's my prediction of the Final Four. The championship game, it's going to be Desmond versus Zack, and WVU takes home their first ever national championship in men's college basketball. I know this is crazy. Of course I'm gonna be a homer and pick my team. Xavier plays West Virginia University in the Final Four in the championship game. And West Virginia takes it home. UVA and a team outside of the top 5 will also be there. Moving on to the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, it is going to be the Warriors-Cavs 4. Unfortunately, it's going to be the Warriors and the Cavaliers 4. And honestly, it doesn't matter who wins. No one wants to see the same two teams over and over again, but that is what it's going to be. That's a 4. Warriors, Cavaliers 4. My guess is probably the Warriors do win, and then LeBron leaves again and takes his talents to some other beach. My good friend Chris Hill would be so mad at me saying this, but Alabama, the Crimson Tide, will not make the college football playoff. They will not. Alabama does not make the college football playoff. So I'm going off my list. All right. Cavs, Warriors 4. Alabama does not make the playoffs. And my final 4. Xavier, UVA, West Virginia team outside the 5. Also, I'm going to add a bonus. Kansas does not win the Big 12 for the first time in 13 years. Currently, they're in second place, but Kansas does not win the Big 12. You heard it here first, folks. Zack Miller Live. All right. Moving on. Netflix, the premier over-the-top network, which many of you are subscribers for, will bring back a popular TV show from the 90s and remake it. What is my prediction? Saved by the Bell. You heard it here first, folks. Saved by the Bell is coming to Netflix. I have no confirmation of this. I have no understanding that this would happen, but this is my prediction that Netflix will bring back Saved by the Bell in some capacity in 2018, or at least announce that Saved by the Bell is coming back for a remake. Maybe it'll be a movie. In some capacity, Saved by the Bell is coming to Netflix. That is part of my 2018 predictions. Bold, ridiculous. You're absolutely right. That's what we do here. No new social media site that you guys have never heard of will become a new juggernaut or mass adopted in 2018. We will not see a new social media site be adopted in 2018. I'd say the last one that really was kind of on a mass adoption was, let's say, 2016 with Snapchat. But I think just like in 17 and 18 as well, that trend will continue where no new social media sites will get global adoption. There definitely will be new sites that are begun and people trying to get on them. But when it comes to mass adoption and people starting to use them, that will not happen in 2018. Got to get the energy. The best part of waking up, it's Folgers in your cup. There's the plug of the day. Hope you guys like that. Continuing on, I believe that franchises will begin to be the new buy local movement. Many of you have heard me say this before, but I believe that as these franchises are becoming easier to get involved with, cheaper to get started, franchises will become the new buy local movement. Stanley Sparrow, what's going on, my friend? We're going over my 2018 predictions. We've wrapped up the sports edition. And now we are discussing the business stuff. If you guys have questions or predictions that you want me to provide, let me know. Hit me up in the comments and I will be delighted to provide my thoughts and predictions. And if I don't know anything about that topic, Guess what? I'll give you a feedback anyway. So, Stanley would love to learn one of the predictions that you have or have for me. Would love to answer that. So, franchises become the new popular movement, just like the buy local movement did roughly a decade ago. Now, I also believe that that means that the buy local movement is actually going to go on the decline, and that franchises which learn how to become more buy local style will increase on that. That is a bold prediction, but I believe that franchises are learning how to adopt the kind of buy local and local mindset movement that was so popular, and they're starting to do that in a franchise level, and that will start to see businesses believe that these franchises can be done and will get popularized, and people will start those more than starting their own businesses that they start from scratch. They are more likely now, I believe, to start getting into franchises because they're buying into playbooks that are already figured out. And so the franchise model, I believe, is going to be the next wave of kind of business growth, not the buy local movement. I'm not saying the buy local movement is going away in any kind of respect like that. I just believe that the franchise model is going to start getting popularity where it wasn't before. Dusty Williams, what is happening, my friend? Hope you are doing well. Stanley, give me a question, man. I want to hear what you got. Franchises become the new popular movement like the buy local has before. Has this ever happened before, like my predictions? Or, Stanley, has this ever happened like the franchise model before? No, I think franchises for a long time, for at least the last decade, and for the longest of times, have been very expensive to start to become a part of. And you're starting to see these businesses like Buzz Franchise Brands that has Mosquito Joe and Pool Scouts and several others. Beforehand it used to cost upwards of north of $1 million to start a franchise. And how many people have $1 million of net worth to be around there? And so what you're seeing is these franchises, these franchisors that are building these ultimately kits and playbooks for the people to buy into, are making them more reasonably priced so that more can get involved into it. And so you're seeing things start for less than $100,000 and even cheaper prices than that, because there's a lot of kind of annual franchise fees that are less than $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 now, which is a lot more manageable than, oh my God, I need to have $1 million to get into. Is it a smart idea? I mean, I think franchises, if that franchise has done well and you can figure out their playbook and see if that customer base lives in your backyard, I definitely think it could be a good example. On an upcoming episode of Connect, which is formerly the Hampton Roads Business Weekly show I host, I interview the CEO of Buzz Franchise Brands, Kevin Wilson, and I talked to him about that kind of exact question about how do you know if a franchise is good or not. And so I think you have to look at their playbooks, their customer base, their other franchises, and see what's good and what's not. And some are definitely better than others, right? You probably can't put a Subway on every corner, but there's 45,000 Subways in the world, which is ridiculous. So some are better than others, but they're a lot cheaper now to get into than before. And so I think if you start doing your due diligence and find something that you love, a franchise could potentially be an easier route for you. And I believe that is where we're moving towards, because I think because of the easier piece to it, because people are buying into a playbook that's already proven, it's there. What's the con to the idea? I mean, the con is that, you have to pay for the playbook, you have to pay for the process and all of that. Sometimes you have to give them a percentage of the business. I mean, do the pros outweigh the cons? I mean, I think it depends on the franchise, but I think you're starting to see that these businesses are proving themselves a lot more, and it's a lot cheaper to get into. And the con is probably higher on starting a business from scratch than it is starting, a franchise that's already been figured out. And so, but they're two totally different things, right? I mean, so imagine you trying to take your business, Stanley, and say, hey, I think other people might want to learn how to manufacture or sew my bow ties, and you teach them the process to do that, and you teach them how to sell it, and then they get it out there, and then what happens? They have a playbook on knowing how to sell it themselves. So, stay tuned with franchises. I do think you're going to start seeing a lot of, mom and pop style franchises become the norm. And I think you're going to see popularity with that. Crossing that one off the list. Happy to answer any more questions that you guys might have. Christy Barkley, hope you're doing well. I said no new social media will kind of make it to mass adoption in 2018. A big TV show remake will be on Netflix, and it will be Saved by the Bell. That is a couple of my predictions so far. The cryptocurrency world has become a buzz. You're seeing people talk about it like crazy. My prediction is it continues to get a lot of buzz. Litecoin cruises across the $1,000 mark, and Bitcoin crosses the $30,000 mark. Good to see that, Christy. Again, Litecoin up to 1,000 and Bitcoin 30K. If you don't know anything about this, I got 2 episodes of the 1004 show on cryptocurrency. One is with Jeremy Johnson, and one is with Stephen Carlsgad. Both kind of discuss what cryptocurrency is and how it kind of could be the future. If you're interested in that, make sure to check out the 1004 show. You can do that on startwithhatch.com and then watch, look for the link for 1004 show. Or you can go to facebook.com/startwithhatch, where we have all the latest episodes there. Or hit up the YouTube channel as well. I'll put all those in the show notes here. Put them all in one link so you guys can find them. I'll pin it to the top because that's what I do here as the host, is I aim to please. Yeah, Stanley, I think it's going to get crazy. So basically, with Bitcoin and Litecoin right now, we're going to see a 3-time multiplier from where they are right now. Litecoin's around $300, Bitcoin's around 10K, and we're going to see it go whoop. I didn't say it's going to stay there. I just said it's going to get to there at some point during the day. Hey, look, I got my Town Bank pen. 2 plugs in one day. One for the best part of waking up. Folgers in your cup. And Town Bank. All right, and finally, my final prediction of 2018. It's a 2-part. It's a 2-parter. The first, and they're both based on Amazon, that company A to Z. If you guys have predictions that you want me to provide answers to, feel free to ask them in the comments. If you guys think I'm ridiculous on any of these, would love to hear your feedback. Push back. Come on, let's have a moment. Let's have a digital battle. All right. And the last one is, drum roll please. Boom. I'm also not an artist. No musician here. Here we go. Amazon will buy a business that basically is a corner market urban store. So you saw that they bought Whole Foods last year. I believe that Amazon will buy a business that is typically in urban environments and kind of corner stores. So something like a Starbucks. Amazon will buy a Starbucks or like a 7-Eleven. Amazon, my 2018 prediction, Amazon will buy a corner market store like a Starbucks or a 7-Eleven this year. Why? Well, number one, those places already have a lot of density in them. As Amazon continues to release their lockers, imagine them having their lockers and then someone in that store now buying coffee or whatever 7-Eleven sells, right? So Amazon in 2018 will announce that they are purchasing a corner store like a 7-Eleven or Starbucks. If you think it's crazy, if you think that prediction's crazy, I want you to share this why with my friends, with your friends. I think so. I think this is because they are typically not in a lot of urban environments. And if they can get in, I'm not saying, if you look at where their distribution centers are, they're typically kind of in your suburbs. And there's not a lot in the urban piece of it. So if they can take their lockers concept, which a lot of people are doing, but if they take the lockers concept and put that outside or inside something like a 7-Eleven, inside something like a Starbucks, and then add all those SKUs that are associated with a Starbucks or a 7-Eleven, to me it just makes sense. Will it happen in 2018? That's what I'm saying is going to happen. Amazon in 2018 will announce the purchase of a corner store like a Starbucks or a 7-Eleven, something like that, right? They bought the suburban things. They have headquarters in suburbias, in suburb areas, but they don't necessarily have a huge presence in urban environments. So, how do you fix that? You purchase ones that are already there. Melody Layler, what's going on? Stanley says he heard about all the digital store they're aiming to create. Yeah, exactly. So imagine, how can you start taking advantage of other stores that already have the infrastructure in place that you just grab onto? So that's my prediction. We'll see what happens. But then part 2 of my 2018 Amazon prediction, because I like to give you 2 parts. And everyone was shocked when they bought Whole Foods, right? Not me. Here we go. And if you guys have predictions, let me know. Comment below. Let me know what your questions are. Happy to answer. If you guys agree with me, disagree with me, share this with your network, share this on your feed, give me a like, give me a subscribe, whatever it might be. Amazon, my last prediction, 2018, Amazon will introduce HQ2, which is where they're opening their second headquarters. Amazon HQ2 will move to Loudoun County, Virginia. Amazon HQ2 prediction 2018. Zack Miller, you hear it right here on Zack Miller Live, will announce that HQ2 is going to Loudoun County, Virginia. They're already one of the finalists in the 20. And if you really look at where Amazon has decided that their finalists are, 6 of the 20 finalists are basically the New York City market and the Washington, D.C. market. My prediction in 2018, Amazon HQ2 will announce its arrival in Loudoun County, Virginia. What does that mean? I moved away from Loudoun County a long time ago, but that place is like built for HQ2. What do you think? Where do you think HQ2 is going? Where do you think Amazon is moving HQ2? I believe it's Loudoun County, Virginia. James Vanderpool, you missed it, buddy. You missed it. I predicted my Final Four, and your team is not in it. I know you're going to get angry at that, and it's okay. My Final Four, Xavier, UVA, a team outside of the top 5, and my alma mater, West Virginia University. Back to Amazon. I saw James jumped on. He's a big Duke fan. My wife's a big Duke fan. That means I have to watch Duke. I like to call Grayson Allen Trip. All you Duke fans and Duke haters will understand what I mean by that. What's up, Trip? How's it going? Kelly Doyle, how are you? Amazon HQ2. Two big predictions by me is going to Northern Virginia, specifically Loudoun County. And they are going to purchase a corner store. Let's do a quick rundown of my 2018 predictions. It's actually pretty ridiculous to even say 2018. We're in 2018, folks. This is ridiculous. Duke Nation. Sports recap. My final four: Xavier, UVA, West Virginia, and a team outside of the top five. I believe the championship game is Xavier versus West Virginia University. Kansas does not win the Big 12 for the first time in, I believe, 13 years. Alabama does not make the college football playoffs. I know the games are in 2018, but we will know the Final Four of college football in 2018. It'll be the Cavs and the Warriors 4. I know the Rockets are playing really, really well, and they beat the Warriors the 2 games they played them. But we're talking about the regular season in the NBA, and we all know that what matters most is the playoffs, baby. And all those teams are going to make it. And then when they play each other, it'll come down to the 2 that we've seen the last 3 years. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. I believe Golden State will take it again, and Cleveland will take his talents to another beach. And Cleveland will burn his jersey again. And that'll be hilarious. Moving on to the business side of things, or kind of life. I believe that no new social network will hit kind of global adoption. I think the last time we saw that was with Snapchat in 2016. You didn't really see it in 2017. It's not going to happen in 2018. Doesn't mean that new social networks will not happen. Doesn't mean that they won't get some sort of adoption. But we will not see kind of that mass adoption where big brands start promoting, contact us here. Like the hashtag was on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, or with Snapchat. We will not see that from a global push in 2018 because we haven't seen it since 2016 Snapchat. Netflix will remake a big TV show in some capacity. Maybe it's a movie. Maybe it's a remix of a previous show like they did with Full House. It could be Fuller House. But what show is it going to be? One of my all-time favorites, Saved by the Bell, will get a remix or a remake or a movie done by Netflix. Go Spurs, go. I'm going with the Ric Flair special 4. Why? Because it's going to be the Cavs versus the Warriors 4. For those of you interested in kind of the cryptocurrency world, I believe that Litecoin and Bitcoin will see 3 times growth from today. Litecoin will reach 1,000. Bitcoin will reach 30,000. Not saying those are going to stay there. I'm not saying they're not going to go higher than that. But Litecoin and Bitcoin will all see 3 times growth from today to some time later in 2018. We will see 3 times growth from both Litecoin and Bitcoin in the crypto world. Ooh, a friend of mine told me about a Karate Kid being a YouTube series. There you go. It's just kind of what things are happening. You got to think that things like this are going to happen. I believe that franchises become the new buy local movement because you're seeing franchises kind of become more localized anyway, and they're a lot cheaper to get into. You'll see brands like Buzz franchise brands, Mosquito Joe, Pool Scouts. These are some of the brands I'm talking about where they're going into different markets and people are being able to really give them that local kind of feel. And then finally, Amazon HQ2 decides to go to Northern Virginia, specifically Loudoun County, and Amazon buys an urban corner store like a 7-Eleven or a Starbucks. It is a major statement, James, when I'm talking about franchises. But I believe that when you're specifically talking about people starting businesses or thinking about, do I start this side hustle or do I buy into a brand that has already figured it out? And I believe that we are already seeing the trajectory go down for businesses being started. So the people that are thinking about starting a new business are not going to be starting from scratch. They're going to be buying into smaller franchises. And a lot of times you probably won't even know that the franchise is a franchise because the way that they've developed it is that it has that local feel to it. Hit me up, Stanley. What do you got? It is a major statement, James. 100% agree. But I believe that as these franchisers are getting cheaper to start and run and have more of a localized feel, you will see businesses buy into that. People will buy into that. People looking to start a business will buy into that rather than trying to figure out what is going to work from scratch. I mean, did you think that my predictions were going to be like cupcake stuff? No. I want bold predictions that could be ridiculous, but when they happen, I go, told ya. Stanley says, I'm noticing Chick-fil-A and Cookit are popping up right next to each other. Do you think this is a franchise? Well, they both are franchises, I believe. And oftentimes you see a lot of restaurants that are competition are literally across the street from each other, right? So McDonald's goes in, a Burger King and a Wendy's usually goes pretty close too because they feed off of each other. And so it's just a typical thing that happens where banks do the same thing. Gyms do the same thing. If you look at it, usually one goes in and then at least another one goes in across the street or right next door. It's just a pretty standard practice because they realize that that must be a good location. So let's just jump on board with what they're doing. It just happens. It's a pretty standard practice. It's a pretty standard thing. So when you see one thing go up, it's not going to be the only thing. It's kind of like a shopping mall, right? You have a couple anchor tenants, and then they get one anchor tenant, they're probably going to get another one, right? So a Burger King across the street is a Wendy's, a McDonald's, the Golden Arches, maybe a Chick-fil-A in there, Monticello Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia, they got all of that. A Taco Bell. Why? They feed off of each other. Right? Why do you see a lot of restaurants next to each other? They feed off of each other. It just happens. Heather, hope you're doing well. James, thanks. I mean, I appreciate it. Those are great points regarding franchise businesses. Earlier in Zack Miller Live episode 5, we talked about how franchises used to be north of $1 million to start. They're not anymore. I mean, there are some franchises that their franchise fees are less than $20,000 to start and maybe $100,000 or less to get going in the first year. That's a lot different than it was before. So when people are thinking, well, I'm going to start a business, I have $100,000. Am I going to put it into a playbook that's already figured out, or am I going to risk that on the $100,000 somewhere else? Yeah, it would be interesting, Chris, to see an Amazon buying a Burger King. They are in a lot of urban areas. And so, it's some sort of, I think Amazon will buy some sort of corner store. I never thought of it being a restaurant like that, but it could be. Right? I mean, imagine if they start playing off of each other. If Whole Foods has the food, then they can get it to Burger King. I mean, it all kind of works together. Right? And then they put a locker there. I just think when you start thinking about Amazon, they're not in urban environments as like a location. Or there's not a lot of them, at least. And so how can they get a footprint quick? They acquire Starbucks or something like a 7-Eleven. Maybe it is a restaurant like a Burger King. I don't know what Burger King trades at. I don't know, if that's even feasible. Could be. Chris Tillett is in the house. What's up, Chris Tillett? Look, bold predictions here, 2018. Bold predictions by me, Zach Miller. Because why have a prediction if you know what's going to happen? You got to have something crazy in there. And that's what I provided today. Amazon is going to Loudoun County. And they're going to buy a corner market store. Like a Starbucks. Or a 7-Eleven. Could be another drugstore, something like that. Maybe it is a restaurant. It's a good idea. You know? It's going to happen, folks. It just makes sense. Crypto is going to triple at some point this year from where it is today. Now, so crypto currently is trading, I think Bitcoin is around 10K. And Litecoin is somewhere around 300. That's my standard point. So I'm not saying that like each of those is going to go down and then triple back up. No, they're going to triple from where they are today. Bitcoin will get to 30,000. And Litecoin will get to 1,000. That's it. What prediction do you want me to answer? Happy to do it. What questions do you guys have about this? I don't just say it without context behind it. Stanley, I think crypto is new. It's interesting. I think if you watch those 2 episodes of the 1004 show, I'll put them up in a link in a little bit. I think if you start thinking about it, it's really interesting. I mean, I think we all think the banking world is really messed up. I think we all think that the banking world is a challenge. I mean, you can only go to the bank like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Do we all think that that's like the most ridiculous thing possible? I mean, I do. Oh, bank's not open, or I mean, cryptocurrency is like that. Now, could it be a bust? Sure. But my 2018 prediction says it's not. I mean, I think you should, and I don't know what your stock portfolio looks like or anything like that, but you know, if you think about the 10% risky, you know, if you were going to invest 10% of your money into a startup or into something risky, I think Bitcoin would be somewhere in that 10%. You know, throw a couple bucks into it. You know, if you have an extra $100, a couple $1,000, throw it in there. See what happens. You know, if it doesn't work, you know, don't get mad at me. Like, this is your money. Do whatever the heck you want with it. But I think it's interesting, and I think that if you look at things that are super early, and it's not that super early anymore. I mean, it's a decade old. You know, you make money when you are an early adopter, right? I mean, Facebook once, you know, when they IPO'd, it was $39, and then it went down to $15. You know, everyone thought Facebook was not going to make it. I've been thinking about that. A couple years ago, Facebook traded at $15. I'm pulling up my stock market reader. Facebook now trades today at $178. That's like a 10 to 10, 12 multiplier. You know, is crypto that? I don't think it's going away. But things take time, right? You know, if you got media organizations, you know, with crypto on their tickers, I mean, that's going to help. So, appreciate y'all's time today checking out my 2018 predictions. And we'll see what happens, right? That's it for this edition of Zack Miller Live. Stay tuned for the big announcement next Wednesday morning. You'll see it live right here. The big announcement. It's coming live Wednesday morning. And I appreciate y'all hanging out today, listening to my predictions, engaging. And until next time, have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you soon. Peace.